Have you ever wondered how the Chinese have survived wars, famines, and lockdowns without ever running out of food? For centuries, Chinese families have quietly mastered the art of stockpiling, not with instant noodles or canned beans, but with ancient, time-tested foods that seem to never expire. From mysterious black eggs buried in clay to fruits that stay fresh for decades, these ingredients tell a story of survival, wisdom, and flavor unlike anything you've seen before. In this video, we'll uncover the 20 unique foods the Chinese stockpile and why they've stood the test of time. Some might even change how you think about food forever. It looks like a rotten egg, but this mysterious black treasure can last for decades. Why do the Chinese love it? Legend says that during the Ming Dynasty, a farmer accidentally discovered them when he found duck eggs buried in clay near his home. Instead of throwing them away, he peeled one open. And what he found was shocking. The once white egg had turned translucent brown, the yolk a creamy green, and the smell powerful but strangely inviting. By sealing eggs in a mix of clay, ash, salt, and tea leaves, the Chinese created a way to preserve food that could last for months, even years, without spoiling. The alkaline mixture transforms the egg from the inside out, hardening proteins, killing bacteria, and leaving behind that silky, earthy flavor food lovers now call umami perfection. But beyond preservation, the century egg carries a quiet wisdom. It reminds people that time isn't the enemy, it's the artist, that patience and curiosity can turn something simple into something extraordinary. For centuries, this black jewel has symbolized transformation and resilience, a lesson passed down from generation to generation. But if you think this preserved egg is strange, wait until you see what happens when duck eggs are soaked in pure salt, a golden treasure with a secret of its own. They look simple on the outside, smooth, pale shells hiding something unexpected. But crack one open, and you'll find a golden treasure glistening inside. The Chinese have been making salted duck eggs for centuries. And once you see what's inside, you'll understand why. These aren't ordinary eggs. Inside the firm, white albumin lies a yolk so rich and oily it shines like molten gold. During festivals, it's a symbol of prosperity and luck. But the secret behind its long life is pure preservation magic. The process is deceptively simple. Duck eggs are soaked or packed in a thick paste of salt and clay for about a month. Over time, the salt slowly seeps through the shell, curing the egg from the inside. The result? An egg that can last months without refrigeration, firm, savory, and perfectly preserved. The flavor is unlike anything else, buttery, briny, and deeply satisfying. The yolk becomes crumbly, yet creamy, melting into congee or mooncakes like golden lava. For generations, salted duck eggs have been a humble but powerful symbol of Chinese ingenuity, turning something ordinary into something divine, using nothing more than time and salt. And yet this isn't the only ancient ingredient that stands the test of time. Wait until you discover the Chinese fruit that gets better with age and never seems to expire. It starts as something most people throw away, a simple orange peel. But in China, that peel transforms into one of the most treasured ingredients on earth. Chinpi, the aged mandarin peel that never truly expires. For centuries, Chinese families have saved the peels from sweet mandarins, dried them under the sun, and stored them in jars, not for days or months, but for decades. The longer it sits, the darker and more powerful it becomes. Some prized pieces of chinpi are over 50 years old, worth more than gold by weight. But what makes it so special? Over time, the oils inside the peel slowly concentrate. Bitterness softens, giving way to a deep, warm aroma, a blend of citrus, spice, and nostalgia. It becomes medicine, seasoning, and memory all in one. Used in teas, soups, and even desserts, chinpi isn't just food. It's heritage preserved by patience. To the Chinese, it represents balance, the harmony between bitter and sweet, old and new. It teaches that nothing should be wasted, because even the simplest things can grow more valuable with time. So next time you peel an orange, remember, in China, that peel could become a treasure. And speaking of treasures, wait until you see the preserved meat that has survived for centuries. Rich, smoky, and bursting with history. Sweet, smoky, and glistening like ruby glass. This isn't your average sausage. It's lapcheong, the Chinese cured sausage that's been hanging in kitchens across China for hundreds of years, and somehow it never really expires. Long before refrigerators existed, families found a way to preserve meat through winter by curing it with salt, sugar, and rice wine, then drying it under the sun. The result? A sausage so rich in flavor and perfectly sealed by time that it could last for months, even in the hottest weather. Lapcheong tells a story of resourcefulness. In ancient southern China, farmers couldn't afford to waste even a single piece of pork, so they turned necessity into art, blending lean meat and fat, seasoning it with soy, sugar, and wine, and hanging it high to dry. The air did the rest. Over time, it became more than survival food. It became comfort. The scent of lapcheong sizzling in rice or noodles brings back memories of family kitchens, Lunar New Year feasts, and tradition passed down through generations. Even today, a few slices can transform a simple dish into something extraordinary, proof that patience and preservation can capture flavor forever. But if you think meat can last long, wait until you meet the Chinese delicacy that's sweet, smoky, and can outlast time itself. It looks like thin sheets of amber glass shimmering under the light, sweet, smoky, and just dangerously addictive. This is bakwa, the Chinese dried meat that can last for months, yet disappears from the plate in seconds. Centuries ago, when refrigeration didn't exist, Chinese merchants needed a way to preserve pork for long journeys. Their solution was simple but brilliant. Slice the meat thin, marinate it in sugar, soy sauce, and spices, then smoke it slowly over charcoal until every drop of moisture vanished. What remained was a chewy, glistening square of pure flavor, part jerky, part candy, all genius. Bakwa became more than just travel food. During Lunar New Year, families gifted it as a symbol of abundance and good fortune. Its sweet aroma filled entire streets, drifting from old charcoal stalls where the meat sizzled and caramelized in open flame. Each bite tells a story of patience, preservation, and celebration. It's proof that food made for survival can also become food made for joy. Even now, in modern cities, people line up for hours to buy it fresh. But those same ancient preservation secrets keep it lasting long after the feast ends. And if you thought meat could last forever, wait until you see how the Chinese turned vegetables into something just as immortal. It looks like a small jar of wrinkled greens. Nothing fancy, nothing modern. But open it and you're smelling history itself. This is Tianjin preserved vegetable, a salty, crunchy miracle that has survived in Chinese kitchens for generations. Born in the coastal city of Tianjin, this humble food was once a lifesaver during harsh winters and long sea voyages. Farmers harvested mustard greens, chopped them fine, and packed them into earthen jars with salt. Weeks later, the water drained away, leaving behind a pungent, savory crunch that could last for years. The secret lies in fermentation. Salt draws out moisture while good bacteria take over, transforming bitterness into deep umami. That's why even today, a spoonful of Tianjin vegetable can bring a dull bowl of noodles or rice to life. It's not just about flavor, it's about thrift, resilience, and gratitude. Chinese families once relied on jars like these when fresh vegetables were impossible to find. And though times have changed, this little jar remains a symbol of endurance and resourcefulness. Every bite tastes like survival seasoned with wisdom. But if you think pickled vegetables are the clever ones, wait until you meet the Chinese fish dish that's fried, canned, and practically eternal. It comes in a simple tin can, small, unassuming, and often tucked away in the back of Chinese pantries. But open it and you unleash a scent that's rich, savory, and timeless. This is fried dace with salted black beans, one of China's most iconic preserved foods, and it's practically indestructible. It all began in the southern province of Guangdong, where fishermen faced long journeys at sea. Without refrigeration, they needed a way to keep fish edible for months. Their answer? Fry it until dry, then seal it with fermented black beans and oil. The result was a preservation miracle. Tender fish with a smoky, salty flavor that refuses to spoil. Inside every can is a story of coastal resilience, of families surviving on ingenuity and flavor when nothing else lasted. The fried dace absorbs the fermented beans' aroma, creating a deep umami punch that can turn a bowl of plain rice into a feast. Even today, this humble tin represents more than survival. It's nostalgia in metal form. For many Chinese families abroad, one bite can taste like home. It's proof that food doesn't just feed the body, it preserves memory. But if you think fish and beans are clever companions, wait until you see what happens when beans alone are fermented into pure flavor gold. They don't look like much, tiny, wrinkled black specks. But don't be fooled. These little beans have powered Chinese kitchens for over 2,000 years. They're called fermented black beans, or douqi, the oldest known fermented soybeans in the world. Their story begins in ancient China, long before soy sauce or tofu. Farmers discovered that by salting black soybeans and leaving them to age under the sun, they transformed into something magical, beans bursting with salty, smoky, earthy umami that never truly expires. The secret? Fermentation. Over time, good bacteria reshape the beans' chemistry, concentrating flavor while warding off decay. Packed in salt, they can last for years without losing their power, a miracle of preservation and taste. In Chinese cooking, a few grains are enough to transform a dish. They turn bland vegetables bold, plain tofu unforgettable, and fish into perfection. Their flavor is ancient, deep, dark, and alive. Even today, chefs guard their jars of douqi like treasure. It's not just a condiment, it's living history, proof that time and salt can do what no factory ever could. And if you think beans can last forever, wait until you see the mushrooms the Chinese dry, store, and revive like nature's own time travelers. They look like shriveled umbrellas, dry, cracked, almost lifeless. But add hot water, and these dried shiitake mushrooms awaken like magic, releasing an aroma so rich it can fill an entire kitchen. In China, they call it xianggu, the fragrant mushroom. For centuries, these mushrooms have been sun-dried not just to preserve them, but to intensify their flavor. Drying draws out moisture while concentrating natural glutamates, the same compounds that give meat its savory depth. Once rehydrated, they become chewy, smoky, and bursting with umami. During the days before refrigeration, drying was survival. Villagers harvested shiitake in autumn, strung them together, and hung them from rooftops to dry under the sun. By winter, they had food that could last for years, light to carry, easy to store, and full of nourishment. Today, dried shiitake still anchor Chinese soups, sauces, and stir-fries. They're proof that patience creates flavor, that sometimes you have to lose moisture to gain soul. And when you open that jar, you're not just smelling mushrooms. You're smelling centuries of tradition captured in every wrinkle. But mushrooms aren't the only fungi with secrets to survival. Wait until you see the strange, delicate fungus the Chinese dry, store, and revive, a food that looks like clouds and tastes like history. It doesn't look edible, thin, black curls that resemble dried leaves or brittle paper, but soak them in water, and they bloom like underwater flowers. This is dried wood ear fungus, one of China's oldest and most mysterious ingredients, a food that can last for years, yet comes back to life in minutes. Wood ear grows on the bark of trees deep in the forests of southern China. Centuries ago, herbalists discovered its secret. Once dried, it could survive nearly forever. Its texture was unlike anything else, crisp, silky, and almost translucent when rehydrated. To this day, Chinese families keep bags of it in their pantry. A handful tossed into soup or stir-fry adds not just texture, but nutrition and folklore, believed to improve blood circulation and cool the body. The drying process preserves it perfectly. No salt, no chemicals, just sun and air. Nature itself becomes the preserver, sealing in its essence until it's needed again. When it touches hot water, it swells instantly, like something reborn, a reminder that life and flavor can hide even in the driest things. Wood ear isn't just food, it's a symbol of endurance, simplicity, and transformation. And if you think dried fungus is impressive, wait until you meet the tiny red fruit. The Chinese call their secret to eternal youth. They look small and harmless, tiny red gems tucked inside glass jars. But these goji berries or wolfberries have been called the Chinese secret to longevity for over 2,000 years. In ancient times, monks in the remote valleys of Ningxia would steep them in hot water, believing the berries gave them sharper sight and endless energy. Some even said they could help you live to 100. Whether myth or medicine, one thing is certain: these berries never die easily. Once dried, goji berries can last for years. Sunlight locks in their nutrients while drawing out moisture, turning them into sweet, chewy jewels that resist time itself. Toss them into tea, soup, or porridge, and they reawaken with color and sweetness, like nature's candy coming back to life. But beyond nutrition, they carry a message: health through simplicity, preservation through patience. Goji berries are proof that powerful things often come in small, humble forms. And if you think these tiny fruits hold the key to youth, wait until you meet another ancient treasure, one that's sweet, wrinkled, and said to warm both the body and the soul. They're not flashy, dark, wrinkled, and slightly sticky to the touch. But in China, dried red dates or jujubes are called the fruit of life. For thousands of years, these sweet little fruits have been prized not just for their flavor, but for their healing powers. In old Chinese medicine, they were said to nourish the blood and calm the spirit. Mothers gave them to daughters, healers brewed them into tonics, and families dried them under the sun to last through the coldest months. When fresh, they're crisp like apples. When dried, they transform, chewy, caramel sweet, and filled with warmth. The drying process locks in their sugars and vitamins, allowing them to last for years without losing strength. Even today, a few red dates dropped into boiling water fill the air with a rich, honeyed aroma that feels like comfort itself. To the Chinese, these aren't just fruits. They're symbols of health, love, and continuity. A simple reminder that sweetness can survive even the hardest seasons. But if you think red dates are special, wait until you meet the small, ivory seed the Chinese call the heart of purity. A food so simple, yet sacred, it's been used in rituals for centuries. They come from one of China's most sacred plants, the lotus, a flower that rises pure and untouched from muddy water. Inside its seed pod lies a hidden treasure: dried lotus seeds, tiny symbols of purity, patience, and eternal life. For over 1,000 years, Chinese families have harvested lotus seeds, dried them under the sun, and stored them for generations. The seeds harden into ivory pearls that can last nearly forever. When soaked, they soften again, tender, mild, and subtly sweet, like a taste of calm itself. In traditional Chinese medicine, lotus seeds are said to nourish the heart and quiet the mind. They're used in soups, desserts, and mooncakes, each one carrying a quiet sense of serenity. The secret of their preservation lies in their shell and natural oils, nature's own protection. Even without refrigeration, they remain stable for years, proof of the plant's divine design. To the Chinese, eating lotus seeds isn't just nourishment. It's a ritual, a way of connecting to balance and renewal. And if you thought seeds could be eternal, wait until you see the next treasure, a flower dried for decades, yet still able to bloom again in the warmth of a simple soup. They look fragile, pale, papery petals that crumble at a touch. But don't be fooled. These are dried lily bulbs, one of China's quietest wonders, delicate to look at, yet strong enough to outlast time. For centuries, Chinese herbalists have turned to the lily not for beauty, but for healing. The bulbs, once plucked from the earth, are carefully separated, sun-dried and stored away like petals of eternity. When soaked or cooked, they return to life, soft, creamy, and subtly floral, bringing calm to body and mind. In ancient China, they were believed to nourish the lungs and ease sorrow. Families kept them not just for food, but as comfort, a reminder that peace can be preserved, even through hardship. Dried lily bulbs can last for years in a cool, dry jar. Their secret? Natural starches and oils that seal in purity, protecting them from time itself. They're a whisper of tranquility in a chaotic world, used in sweet soups, desserts, and herbal tonics that soothe from the inside out. But if you think these pale petals are gentle, wait until you meet a fruit that glows like amber and tastes like honey, a dried gem said to warm the soul on the coldest nights. It looks like a small, shriveled marble, brown, wrinkled, and unremarkable. But break it open, and you'll find a jewel within, Dried longan, the fruit the Chinese call the dragon's eye. For centuries, it's been treasured not just for its sweetness, but for its spirit. In ancient times, it was said to nourish the heart and calm the mind. Emperors drank longan tea for energy, while travelers carried it for strength. When fresh, longan is juicy and fragrant, but when dried, it transforms. Its sugars concentrate, its scent deepens, and its life extends indefinitely. Stored properly, dried longan can last for years, sometimes decades, without losing its flavor. A few pieces in hot water bloom again, releasing an aroma that's warm, rich, and almost caramel-like. It's more than just fruit. It's memory, a taste of home for the Chinese diaspora, a link to comfort that never fades. In every bite is the balance between sweetness and endurance. Proof that time, when respected, preserves rather than destroys. But if you think dried fruit is ancient magic, wait until you see the one that starts sour, turns salty, and ends up lasting longer than almost any food in China. It's sweet, sour, salty, and somehow irresistible all at once. This is dried Chinese plum, known as li hing mui, the snack that's crossed oceans, centuries, and cultures without ever going bad. It all began with the humble plum. In ancient China, people discovered that by salting and drying the fruit, it not only survived, it evolved. The salt drew out its juices, the sun sealed its flavor, and what remained was a tangy, addictive treat that could last nearly forever. Sailors once carried these plums on long voyages. Farmers stored them through harsh winters. The combination of salt, sugar, and air made them practically immortal, but the real magic is in the taste. Each bite, a burst of nostalgia, a balance of life's sweet and sour moments. In China, li hing mui isn't just a snack, it's emotion preserved. It reminds people of childhood, of travel, of the way something simple can feel eternal. Even today, they're sold in markets wrapped like tiny jewels, proof that flavor can defy time. It starts with a humble vegetable, crisp mustard greens freshly pulled from the soil. But with a little salt, time, and patience, the Chinese transform it into something extraordinary. Zhaokai, or preserved mustard greens, a food that can outlast seasons, storms, and centuries. In the old days, farmers in Sichuan faced long winters with little to eat. Their solution was brilliant. They rubbed mustard stems with salt, pressed them under heavy stones, and left them to ferment. Weeks later, the greens emerged golden and fragrant, tangy, spicy, and alive with flavor. This transformation wasn't just survival, it was art. The fermentation created a deep umami bite, a flavor so bold it could awaken a bowl of rice or noodles instantly. And because of its salt content, it never truly spoiled. Every Chinese pantry kept a jar, not just for food, but for comfort. It was a taste of home, proof that even the simplest leaf could stand against time. Today, zhaokai still sits on tables from Sichuan to Singapore, connecting generations through one preserved stem at a time. But if you think vegetables hold ancient secrets, wait until you meet the roots and leaves the Chinese dry. Not just to eat, but to heal body and spirit alike. They hang in dusty bundles and fill apothecary drawers with colors of gold, red, and brown. These are dried Chinese herbs, the backbone of traditional Chinese medicine and one of the oldest forms of food preservation on Earth. For thousands of years, healers gathered roots, berries, and barks, ginseng for energy, chrysanthemum for calm, angelica for blood. They dried them slowly under the sun until every drop of moisture vanished, leaving behind nature's most concentrated secrets. Unlike most foods, these herbs aren't meant for the stomach alone. They're meant for balance. Brewed into teas, stews, or soups, they nourish the body and steady the soul. And because they're dried, they can last for decades, aging gracefully, their potency deepening with time. Families kept them in wooden boxes or silk pouches, each labeled with care, like tiny relics of health and hope. But if you think plants can defy time, wait until you see what the Chinese do with the ocean, turning waves into food that never fades. It begins beneath the sea. Long ribbons of kelp swing with the tides. But once brought to shore, washed and dried by the sun, it becomes one of the most enduring foods in Chinese history, dried seaweed. From the coastal provinces of Fujian and Shandong, fishermen learned long ago that seaweed, once dried, could last almost forever. Its thin sheets trapped salt and minerals from the ocean, forming a natural preservative that kept it safe from decay. Stored in dry jars, it could feed families through months when storms kept boats from sailing. When rehydrated, seaweed returns to life, soft, glossy, and packed with ocean flavor. A small handful turns plain soup into nourishment or rice into a feast of the sea. Beyond its flavor, it carries meaning, a link between land and water, between survival and renewal. Even today, Chinese households keep dried seaweed tucked away, ready for any moment when warmth and sustenance are needed. In its quiet way, it embodies the heart of Chinese preservation, simple, natural, eternal. But the final treasure in this journey isn't from sea or land. It's liquid gold, stored in clay jars, and it only gets better with time. It gleams like amber sunlight in a bottle, rich, aged, and full of secrets. This is Shaoxing wine, the legendary Chinese cooking wine that not only flavors food, but defies time itself. Born in the ancient city of Shaoxing over 2,000 years ago, this wine begins with humble rice and pure mountain water. It's fermented, aged in clay jars, and stored for years, sometimes decades, until it turns into liquid gold. What makes it timeless isn't just the alcohol. It's the salt, the aging, and the craftsmanship that prevent decay. Even when left untouched for years, Shaoxing wine only grows deeper, darker, more complex, just like the culture that created it. In Chinese kitchens, a splash of it awakens flavor, unlocking the essence of meat, fish, and vegetables with a single pour. But beyond its culinary magic, it carries symbolism, patience, tradition, and the art of slow mastery. It's a final reminder that the Chinese never just preserved food, they preserved wisdom. Every jar, every grain, every drop tells a story of endurance and harmony. And as this journey ends, one truth remains. Time in Chinese culture isn't an enemy, it's an ingredient. From black eggs to golden wines, every preserved food in China tells a story of patience, resilience, and ancient wisdom. These aren't just meals, they're time capsules, proof that survival can be an art form. But here's the question. Are the Chinese the only ones who've mastered it? Across the sea in Japan, another culture has been perfecting the same art for centuries, with secrets even more surprising.